We're now learning some disturbing details after a woman was found murdered in her North Hollywood home. Police are accusing her husband, who's a Glendale firefighter, of killing her. Eyewitness News reporter Carly Gomez has the latest from North Hollywood.
Good morning. It's what neighbors are describing as a gruesome murder in this North Hollywood home behind me. A potential fit of jealousy may have led to the death of an LA Unified School District elementary school teacher. Now, LAPD investigators say they went into the home yesterday morning here on SATSUMA Avenue to find 55-year-old Mayra Jimenez brutally attacked and bludgeoned to death.
At 4 in the morning on January 21st, 2026, a Glendale firefighter walked into a Los Angeles police station and asked officers to check on his wife. When they arrived at the couple's North Hollywood home on SATSUMA Avenue, they found 55-year-old Mayra Jimenez inside, her life taken by blunt force trauma. The man who requested that welfare check was her husband, 45-year-old Andrew Jimenez, a 17-year veteran of the fire department who had just been praised for his heroic work during the devastating Palisades Fire. Within hours, he was in custody, accused of ending the life of the woman he'd promised to love and protect. If you're already feeling that knot in your stomach and want to go deeper into cases like this that shake us to our core and demand answers, do me a favor right now. Hit that like button, subscribe to She's Alive, and smash that bell icon. Because when we don't pay attention, when we don't share these stories, they fade into the background. And that's the last thing victims like Mayra deserve. Let's make sure her story is heard. So who were Andrew and Mayra Jimenez before that terrible January morning? On the surface, they seemed like the kind of couple any neighborhood would be lucky to have. Andrew had dedicated nearly 2 decades to the Glendale Fire Department since joining back in April 2008. As a firefighter-paramedic, his job was to run toward danger when everyone else was running away, to save lives when seconds mattered. Just weeks before Mayra's death, he'd been out there battling the Palisades Fire, one of the most destructive blazes Southern California had seen in years. His colleagues respected him. The community trusted him. He'd recently been promoted, a testament to his skills and dedication. Mayra was equally committed to her community, just in a different way. She spent her days shaping young minds as a 3rd-grade teacher at Wilshire Park Elementary School in Koreatown. If you've ever had a teacher who made you feel seen, who genuinely cared whether you understood the lesson or not, you know how rare and valuable that is. Mayra was that teacher for dozens of kids. She wasn't just clocking in and out either. She served as a union representative for United Teachers Los Angeles and sat on the school site council, always advocating for better conditions for students and staff. Outside the classroom, she had this other beautiful side to her life. She was an ordained non-denominational minister who performed wedding ceremonies for couples starting their journeys together. Think about that irony for a second. A woman who helped people celebrate love and commitment, whose own marriage would end in the most unthinkable way. The couple had been married since November 2014, coming up on their 10th anniversary. They lived in a quiet residential area near BURBANK Boulevard in North Hollywood, the kind of street where neighbors know each other's names and wave when they pass by. And here's the thing that makes this case even more disturbing. Nobody saw it coming. Not one person. Neighbors like Camila Cabrera, who lived nearby, told reporters they'd never witnessed any arguments, never heard raised voices, never noticed anything that would suggest violence was brewing behind closed doors. To everyone on the outside looking in, Andrew and Mayra seemed stable, even happy. 2 professionals dedicated to helping others, living their lives side by side. But as we've seen time and time again in cases like this, what happens behind closed doors can be a completely different story from the image presented to the world. What could have been going on in that house that nobody knew about? The morning of January 21st started in the strangest possible way. Picture this. It's 4 in the morning, still pitch dark outside, and Andrew Jimenez drives roughly 10 miles from his North Hollywood home to the LAPD Northeast Community Police Station in Glendale Park. He walks through the doors and tells officers he needs them to do a welfare check on his wife. He says he can't reach her, that he's worried something might be wrong. Now pause right there and think about how bizarre that is. You're at home with your spouse, you leave, drive 10 miles to a police station, and ask them to check on the person you just left behind? What's going through someone's mind in that moment? What are they hoping will happen? Officers took the request seriously and headed to the Jimenez home on the 5600 block of SATSUMA Avenue around 4:25 in the morning. When they entered, They found exactly what Andrew had sent them to find. Mayra was dead inside the home. The cause was blunt force trauma, the kind of violence that speaks to rage, to loss of control, to something snapping in a way that can't be taken back. Investigators discovered an axe at the scene that they believe was the weapon used. Not a gun fired from a distance, not something quick. An axe requires proximity, physical effort, a sustained choice to keep going. Andrew was detained immediately at the scene. By 7 that evening, the LAPD made it official. He was under arrest on suspicion of taking his wife's life. The bail was set at $2 million, and he was assigned booking number 7165717. Throughout that day, while Andrew sat in custody, investigators worked the scene. Neighbors watched as box after box of evidence was carried out, including 2 large rifles that were removed from the home. The whole street was processing what had happened, trying to reconcile the couple they thought they knew with the crime scene unfolding in front of them. The case was handed to the LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division, Valley Bureau Section, the heavy hitters who handle the most serious cases. They classified it as an isolated incident of domestic violence between cohabiting adults, assuring the public there was no ongoing threat to the neighborhood.
When they entered the home, they found a female in her 50s who was deceased and who appeared. Authorities went to the LAPD Northeast Police Station, and he asked the officers there to check in on his significant other.
But for the people who lived on that street, for the families whose kids sat in Mayra's classroom, for the firefighters who worked alongside Andrew, the threat had already done its damage. The trust was shattered.
I could hear the detectives just talking and stuff like that from my window, because I put my window open. I could just hear them talk about how horrific it was, how it was just bloody, and then next thing you know, they found an axe.
Now here's where the story takes another turn, and I want you to remember that what I'm about to tell you is what Andrew's defense attorney claimed. It hasn't been confirmed by investigators as the actual motive. Jose Romero, the lawyer retained by Andrew's family, released a statement saying they were in contact with law enforcement about a diary. According to Romero, this diary was allegedly written by Mayra, and Andrew supposedly read it moments before her death. The attorney claimed the diary revealed that Mayra had been unfaithful. If you believe that version of events, Andrew discovered his wife's affair through her own written words, and something inside him broke in the worst possible way. But let's be clear about something crucial here. Discovering infidelity, as devastating as that might be, doesn't justify violence. It doesn't excuse what happened. Millions of people experience betrayal in relationships every single year. The vast majority of them don't pick up a weapon. They cry, they scream, they leave, they go to therapy, they rebuild their lives. They don't end someone else's. So even if that diary existed and said exactly what the attorney claims, we're still left with the fundamental question. What separates someone who can walk away from someone who can't? The investigation moved quickly because the evidence was overwhelming. According to some reports, Andrew allegedly confessed to what he'd done, though the exact details of that confession haven't been made public. The Glendale Fire Department immediately placed him on administrative leave and relieved him of all duties. Fire Chief Jeff Brooks released a statement extending condolences to Mayra's family while acknowledging the gravity of the situation. The department that had celebrated Andrew's heroism during the Palisades Fire just weeks earlier now had to grapple with the fact that one of their own stood accused of taking a life instead of saving one. The ripple effects spread fast. The Los Angeles Unified School District sent messages to parents at Wilshire Park Elementary, describing Mayra as a beloved teacher, colleague, and friend. They wrote that hearts were broken, and that many were still processing the news because they'd only just learned of it. Imagine being a parent who dropped your 8-year-old off in Mayra's classroom just days before, watching her smile and greet your child, having no idea that would be one of the last times she'd do that. Imagine being one of those third graders trying to understand why their teacher isn't coming back. The school site council she served on, the union she represented, all of it suddenly left with this gaping hole where a passionate educator used to be. Glendale City Council member Elena Satrian posted on Instagram calling the tragedy a painful reminder of why we desperately need better mental health support and domestic violence prevention. And she's right, isn't she? Because here's what's terrifying about this case. There were no warning signs that anyone could see. Domestic violence often escalates over time with visible red flags, with calls to police, with friends noticing bruises or changed behavior. But neighbors insist they never witnessed arguments. Friends say Mayra seemed happy. Colleagues at both the fire department and the school saw nothing concerning. So how do we prevent something when all the violence happens in a single explosive moment with no prior indication? As of the latest reports, Andrew remains in custody on that $2 million bail. He hasn't been formally charged yet, but that's typical in cases where prosecutors want to make absolutely sure they've got everything lined up perfectly before moving forward. The LAPD is still investigating, still piecing together every detail of what happened in that house. They're asking anyone with information to come forward through their Valley Bureau section at 818-374-9550 or anonymously through LA Regional Crime Stoppers. What strikes me most about this whole thing is the double tragedy of it. Mayra lost her life in the most violent way imaginable, robbed of all the years she had left to teach kids, perform weddings, cheer for the Dodgers, just live. But there's also this secondary tragedy of a career spent saving lives potentially ending in taking one. Andrew responded to emergencies, pulled people from burning buildings, performed medical interventions that kept hearts beating. And now all of that is overshadowed by one horrific act. Whether it was a moment of rage triggered by betrayal or something that had been building beneath a carefully maintained surface, the result is the same. 2 lives destroyed, countless others damaged, a community left asking how this could happen. This case forces us to confront some really uncomfortable questions. How well do we actually know the people closest to us? What invisible pressures build up inside someone until they snap? If infidelity was truly the trigger, does that tell us something about how we handle relationship betrayal as a society? Or is it simply that some individuals lack the emotional regulation that most of us have? And here's maybe the hardest question. If someone has spent years being a hero, does that make it harder to see them as capable of harm until it's too late? I want you to think about those questions and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever been completely blindsided by someone's actions? How do we balance recognizing warning signs without becoming paranoid about everyone around us? If you found this video valuable, if it made you think or feel something, share it with someone who needs to hear Mayra's story. Subscribe to She's Alive if you haven't already, because we're committed to telling these stories with the respect and attention they deserve. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive, and check out the other cases we've covered. Each one matters. Each one deserves to be remembered. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's demand better. Let's make sure that when someone's story ends like Mayra's did, we don't just scroll past. We stop, we listen, and we ask what needs to change. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.